A westbound Green Line train to downtown Minneapolis is arriving on track number 1.
Students from the state university, white collars in the downtown area, and all kinds of people in the Twin Cities enjoy the convenience of the modern public transportation system, Metro. The color-coded Lightrail and bus, rapid transit system owned by the Metropolitan Council now has 4 lines stretching across the 7 counties. Metro Blue and Green lines constitute the Lightrail system. Much to the inhabitants' frustration, the track from Mall of America to the Target Field doesn't cover the entire Twin Cities area. In the near future, the 2 lines called for a northern extension to Brooklyn Park and a western extension to Eden Prairie, which are to open around 2021.
I think it's important for the region to build out this spine of high-frequency rail. But because it is very expensive, then we can build out more bus rapid transit that's a little more flexible and build on top of that. So the Southwest LRT is going through one of the most job-rich corridors. So very supported by those communities, very supported by those businesses. And then the next planned line goes up northwest and will end in Brooklyn Park. There was some possibility of it going to Maple Grove. I, of course, would have loved that, but there's good reasons to go to Maple Grove, or Brooklyn Park too. And then we're also rolling out a more frequent bus service. The A line is one example, and so those will be frequent, but with bus lines to kind of fill in, and those are much less expensive. And then the Orange line going down 35W is another example of that.
For most people living in Minneapolis-St. Paul today, Metro is the only rail public transportation that they know about. However, the history of Twin Cities rail transportation goes back centuries. The 1914 North Side Station, the 1891 East Side Station, and the 1885 vintage 3rd Avenue North. Many of today's bus routes travel the same streets and bear the same names as the old streetcar system. Many of its remnants still remain, you just need to know where to look. At its peak, the company Twin City Rapid Transit, TCRT, operated 524 miles of track, stretching from Stillwater to Bayport on the east, to Deep Haven, Excelsior, and Tonka Bay on the west. TCRT built its own fleet of Lake Minnetonka steamboats, which met the streetcars. For a brief time, the transportation empire encompassed the Big Island Amusement Park, Lake Park Hotel on Lake Minnetonka, Wildwood Amusement Park on White Bear Lake, and most of the buses and taxicabs in the cities. Independent streetcar companies reached Anoka and Hastings using the TCRT track inside the city.
I'm not a public transportation expert at all.
Honestly, I haven't really been to one, I haven't been to many inside the United States.
We are the MPO. We do 90% of the transit in the region.
But I think definitely public transportation is really important to get. If we could have a really polished public transportation system, I think that'd be so beneficial, and I think people realize that.
Of course I'd use it over my car. I mean, it's a form of public transportation, so there's no reason really not to if it's convenient to me.
The Metropolitan Airports Commission came and made a presentation to us, and a lot of their workers, those are low-wage jobs.
Yeah.
And they said when we put the blue line in, a lot of their commutes for their workers went from 2 hours to a half hour. It's a game changer.
Yeah.
You find 3 more hours in your day. That's big. Our region is really, really diverse. And you've got those urban folks, you've got millennials that only want to use transit. The parking is really expensive. It doesn't make sense to have everybody on the road. It would be so congested. And then you've got people out on the suburban edge and they don't want to use transit. So we've got to make sure we've got choices and real choices for all of those folks.
Since the commencement of the first line of Twin Cities light rails, this public system of rapid transportation brought convenience to over 500,000 inhabitants in the greater urban area for 17 years, virtually transforming the features of the city. During 2010, The Metro Transit ridership topped 80 million, marking the first time in a generation that ridership has grown steadily for more than a decade. With the efforts to build this ridership and expand the system, an age of modern rapid transportation has begun with a bang, and new generations of Minneapolitans are ready to embrace the future of the Twin Cities.